You might have to click. Hello, it's PCT Chat. It's noon on Sunday Pacific time. I got called out last time because I did not state that it was Pacific time, even though Pacific time is the only time for the trail. So I thought it was obvious, but obviously I was wrong yet again. So today I'm here with the person that introduced me, maybe not to the PCT because I had watched the movie Wild, but it certainly watching the movie Wild did not make me want to hike the PCT. In fact, quite the opposite. I was like, I'll never do that. But then my good friend Allie was going to do it, and she left in 2019, which I
Yeah.
believe was that a heavy snow year?
Yes.
Was a heavy snow year. She left, I think it was on, I want to say March 17th. It was St. Patrick's Day or right
Yeah.
around there. And I thought I would never see her again. I really did. I thought I would never see her again. And she changed her, I guess people do this. I'm not going to do it, but she changed her Facebook uh, persona for the hike. And so I neglected, I don't know if I just missed it or if I wasn't invited, I don't know, but I did not see anything about her, and I was convinced she was dead. And I don't remember when she popped back up again. It was some months later, wasn't it? Months later.
Yeah, I think so. About a
So
month.
and she was we go to church together, and we went to church before she left on her trip. I took her to Subway to buy her a sandwich for her farewell meal. And the next morning she was getting a ride from somebody out, which I would have been happy to give her a ride, but I really knew nothing about the trail at this point. So then I was interested in the trail, but I was not yet motivated to want to be on the trail. It sounded horrible to me to be outdoors for 2,650 miles, sleeping in I like sleeping in a sleeping bag and stuff, but not for 2,650 miles, which is roughly 5 to 6 months on the trail. So then 2020 came about, and Allie, being the persistent woman that she is, went out on the trail for her second attempt. And good old, I think she left at about the same time in March. And I don't remember this year, I don't remember doing anything very festive. I know I didn't take her out to eat or anything. Well, maybe we did. We might have gone for a buffet, now that I think about it. But she was heading out again, and good old COVID came along, and all the hikers were told to get off the trail, for goodness sakes, because they were going to endanger all these poor little hiker towns who actually rely on the hikers coming through there, COVID or not, to survive. And really, I think there was a lot of hard times because of this proclamation from the PCTA to get off. It never came from like the Forest Service or the national parks. In fact, national parks saw a surge in visitation, if I'm correct, because people were encouraged to spend time outside as opposed to time inside with their family. So a lot of people got out more, which I think was an unintended great benefit of COVID. So now we come to April of 2020, and my friend Allie, who is stubborn as the day is long, says, screw the PCTA. I am going out I'm going out to continue my hike, and I want you to come with me. She might not have said it like that. I might have said, I want to come with you. I don't remember exactly how it shook down, but next thing I know, I spent about $2,000 on a bunch of stuff that I'd never used before. And I was going on the PCT B. And we survived. I got to be careful how I say this. We found a person to give us a ride to where Allie had come off trail, right?
Right.
Okay. And that person, I'm going to say Asian women drivers. There's a reason I'm an Asian woman driver, and I'm not a good driver. I admit it. I don't know how I have a license sometimes. I try to be careful, and I've never hurt anyone like physically, but I've hurt cars. and other cars besides my cars. But I really, and I try to be careful. I just don't know, whatever that gene is, the good driving gene. I don't think Asian women get it. Asian men don't get it either, as far as I know. But anyway, that sounds kind of racist. So let's move on. So Allie helped me get all my stuff, and I was like, well, I can't buy the top of the line. And she had the top of the line stuff. And I just didn't get it. I didn't understand like how pack weight was really important. In fact, I never even weighed my pack, I don't think, full. I weighed it once before it was full, and I want to say it was probably over 15 pounds when I weighed it.
Yeah,
I
it was about,
what?
I think it was around 20.
That's what I remember. But you know, with a lot of water and with food, and we packed for about 3 days, didn't we? Water and food.
Yeah.
So we took off, I think it was called Bouquet Canyon Road. I don't remember what mile.
Yeah. Bay Canyon, yeah.
You remember what mile of the PCT it is? Like
478 around there.
478, that far? Okay, so we were up at 478. And the first night we hiked probably half a day by the time we survived the terrifying ride up there, which I did not think we were going to survive. Really, this person was driving across lanes of traffic and was looking at a map that she didn't need the map. It was just take the right. Wasn't it just take the 5 there pretty much?
Yeah.
And then she wanted to find a bathroom, and she had a boyfriend in the car that could have helped with some of the navigation, but chose instead to terrify us in the back seat. And Allie and I looked at each other multiple times and thought, this was it. We said goodbye silently with love in our hearts. And this was not how we planned to go, but we got to the trail, and I remember you left some water in the water. There was a water cache under the tree. You remember?
Yeah.
And
Well, we bought about 3 or 4
yeah,
gallons.
that's right. You bought water to leave. I didn't understand any of this stuff, how it worked, but yeah, we left some water for the water cache to be good neighbors. And then I loaded up my pack, and it was the heaviest I'm sorry, it was the heaviest thing I'd ever felt on my back, besides my old boyfriend. Just kidding. And but you know what I told myself? I said, you know what? You may not be a great athlete, I said to myself, but you can walk, and you can walk carrying heavy stuff. You do it when you bring the groceries home from Costco, right? So I said,
That's the same.
what?
That's the same thing.
Pretty much. And we had done some training, like not full pack training, but we had done some training with packs on. I remember because there was one night we were walking around the neighborhood, and the bathroom I thought was open wasn't open. So I got to experience peeing out in nature in my neighborhood, which really, it was on a busy street, and Allie kept an eye out. So hopefully I didn't get arrested for it, but I had to go. And I now it gave me a little bit of empathy towards homeless people when all these places were closed because of COVID. They had nowhere to go to the bathroom, and that kind of sucks. But anyway, so Allie, why don't you share? Let's see how much time we have. Oh, we got plenty of time. Why don't you share? I've shared the story from my perspective of how we got to the first day of it was supposed to be a 40-day hike, 30-day hike. Wasn't it supposed to be like 45 days, the hike?
2 weeks, I think.
Oh, I remember it being longer than 2 weeks. It was definitely longer than 2 weeks, but we'll agree to disagree. I remember because I publicized it with
Okay. I don't.
groups. So it was longer than 2 weeks. But okay, so what do you remember? Helping me getting ready, making me understand why I had to spend like $300 on a sleeping bag, and $300 on a tent, and $300 on a backpack, and I couldn't buy like the $100 ones.
Well, I think you get what you pay for, and up to a certain point, and then when you want to go ultralight, you don't get what you pay for. It's the
Well, you get
decrease.
something ultra light.
Yeah, it's ultralight, but it's very expensive, and it probably doesn't need to be that expensive. But because it's the lightest, they can charge more for it. So
I want to compete in that market. Actually, I would like to market things that are ultralight that are not so crazy expensive, because I think there's a market for it.
yeah, there are some places. I think there's like a tent called Finn, I think's the name of it. I'm not sure, but they have a really nice ultralight tent that's not as expensive as like Z packs and stuff.
Because you can spend $800 on a tent,
Yeah,
an
easy.
ultralight tent. How much
Yeah,
was the one you that I bought? I bought it from you from 500, so I think it was about
close to
seven or eight hundred.
700. Yeah,
So it was almost $700.
that was my second Z pack tent. The first one I had leaked, so I
Oh,
sent it back. Uh,
so
and
that's
they
good
said,
to know. It's like even these ultra expensive tents can fail. So you always want to try them out before you're out on the trail. That's what I would recommend. In your backyard, you know,
yeah, hose down.
yeah, hose it down, but check it out before it's time, which I actually, well, your tent you told me is good now, so I don't have to do that with your tent.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay. So then when you were telling me all the stuff because I basically needed everything. I don't think I had, maybe I had a pair of wool socks, but they weren't darn tough wool socks, which are the brand that we recommend. I didn't have Injinji toe socks, which I had a pair of trail shoes because I thought hiking boots were hiking boots. I did not even know that trail runners were a thing. And Allie had introduced me to that. I think they went on sale one year and you said you got to get, if you want to hike, you got to get some of these trail
yeah.
runners. And I think they were Lone Peaks. I still have them. I haven't worn them out yet because I don't hike enough, obviously.
That was another one. It was
I
I
got some
forgot what it was.
I got some ultras on sale. Those
Yeah,
are my favorite because they're lighter than, I think I got topos. You had me get topos,
yeah, topos. Yeah,
which were good, but I like the ultras, but the topos have a really nice toe box.
yeah,
But I like the ultras because I feel they're lighter and they dry faster than the topos.
yeah,
Because the first time I went out in my topos, I went on a hike with Allie and she crossed this little bridge over this little stream. And then I crossed the little bridge and like it collapsed into the water and I got soaking wet. And I got my brand new hiking shoes all wet and I was all pissed off. And she was just like, that's how it works, babe. It's like that's what's gonna happen to your new hiking shoes. So I learned another valuable lesson, as I always do, from my beautiful friend Allie. Lots of beautiful lessons from my
go first on the
friend.
bridge.
So what?
Go first on the
Go first
bridges.
on the bridge. Yeah, that's but they see, but that one can also benefit you to go second.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's better to go first. Sometimes maybe not, because maybe the bridge won't hold, and then I won't be the one to find that out.
yeah,
But we finally got everything, and I don't think we did. I don't think we actually did a practice. I know I camped out in the yard. Oh, remember, because I had that other tent that I didn't end up liking.
yeah. It was a horrible.
Because it was real light and it was like one of those it wasn't a standalone tent, and it was real tiny, and I camped in it a couple times and I did not like it. But I know the first night we camped in your tent and
Yeah,
I liked your tent a lot. It had the two sides openings, the
right.
vestibule had two vestibules. It was a triple person or dual person?
Two person
But
duplex.
it was plenty big enough for two, because they always say if you want two, you should go for three. But I thought it was plenty big enough for two people.
Was yeah. That's because we're so skinny.
Yeah, we're so skinny. Mhm. And then the first night, I think you were uncomfortable. I remember you being uncomfortable that night. And I think you thought something was wrong, and then I think I gave you a Valium or something, and then that seemed to take care
Yeah,
of the problem. So,
I I have in the past had panic attacks,
okay. On the
and
trail?
no, this is the first. I hadn't had one in like a year or two, and
Wow.
then I think it's because it was so hot and
It was hot.
it was pretty much uphill the whole way. A-
Yes, I remember that. And
And
there were people that we didn't know around too,
yeah,
which I
and
think would make it more stressful.
so after we were setting up the tent, it was dark. It just started to get dark, and it got really really cold. And then I was wet from
Mm,
sweating and stuff, and I just never could warm up again. Yeah. And then I kind of I thought something was really wrong with me, which is what a panic attack is. And
right.
so it really took everything out of me.
By the way, they're really fun for your friend when you're going through a panic attack, because
Oh, I know.
the friend is also very panicked because they don't know what's wrong. So now I think the lesson we can learn from that is don't wait too late to change out of your wet clothes.
Right.
Because once you get that chill, and you always want to have dry clothes and dry socks to change into, and a clean. I think it's always good to have a sleep outfit, right? That's kind of the way I do it now, is I have a clean
Yeah.
sleep outfit. Every once in a while I'm too exhausted and I don't change into it, but I always regret that because
Yeah.
it keeps your sleeping bag cleaner. It keeps you, cleaner. I think because you're getting off the worst of the dirt, at least on the clothes. So
Also,
then the second day we got up pretty early and we're not cold soakers. I've tried cold soaking and I don't think I can do it long term. I can do it for like a 4 or 5 day trip, but I don't want to do the whole PCT cold soaking.
I like something warm at night.
I like something warm in the morning too. So I've been trying to wean myself off coffee, but it's nice to have something hot. And they say it's good to have something hot before you go to bed if it's cold, because
Right.
it warms up your insides and you'll stay warmer for the night. So that's good. So the next night, I remember I think we were more by ourselves, and we
Or,
each put up our tents. And I remember we had a nice one of those outpacker, the mountain packer, whatever those
yeah.
meals were. I don't think we split it. I think we each had our own, but we might have split it because there's more than enough food. And that's something interesting too. You think you're going to be starving on the trail, but a lot of times when you're first starting out, you're kind of forcing yourself to eat. Like
Yeah.
you're just
Absolutely.
not hungry. You don't have that hiker hunger yet. So we had I thought that night was okay. I don't remember anything.
No, it was great. We slept well. It was a little breezy, but it wasn't bad at all. It was actually really nice. We were kind of tucked in behind some chaparral.
That's what I remember, yeah. And it was kind of like on a plateau. I remember it sort of being on a plateau. And then didn't we hike more, like maybe up a little bit more but then we came down the mountain to that road,
Yeah.
right? So that's where the surprise was. Because I thought things were going okay. We signed in remember we signed in the register, that book?
Yeah.
And you took a very bad picture of me, which I'm gonna have to ask you to please take better pictures. Like my eyes were closed. So when you take a picture, just, take a glance and make sure it's worthy of me, because I'm a social media person and I have a persona. So when I ask you to take a picture, I'm relying on you to take a good picture. So I'll put that out there. So then this I would like you to tell what happened next from your perspective, and then I'll add in my perspective.
Well, truth is, I never really got over that panic attack yet. I was still, I don't know.
Troubled?
I don't know. I just, I can't explain how I felt, but I felt really defeated, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Really? Okay.
And so when we got down there at the bottom, then we had another climb back up again. And I just said, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Do you
Now,
Now I remember it a little bit different. I remember you getting to the road and putting your pack down and sticking your finger out and
yeah,
saying, "There's the PCT across the road if you want to keep going." And I was like, I'm not going to go by myself. I don't have a Garmin. I don't have a map. Like I don't know if I think I had Far Out on my
yeah.
phone, but I surely didn't know how it worked. So yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
Well, I would have given you my garment.
Well, I wasn't going to go by myself. It would have been foolish and dangerous. I mean, I'm sure worse off people have done it and
Yeah,
survived. But plus I don't know that I want to hike by myself. I mean, I know they all hike your own hike. I know they all say that, but I don't know. There's a lot of people out there I don't like, and I do like you 95% of the time. So I'd rather hike with someone that I know. And I think that's just common sense. And if you got to slow down some days, like the guy I do practice hikes with, he definitely hikes faster than me. but we make it work. You know, we just meet up at the end of the day, or we meet up after, like, at the next trail, you know, spot where there's a sign, and, you know, and that's how we do it. And he likes to get, he doesn't have to push himself crazy hard, but he can, like, he can push himself and then rest, which is, I don't think that's the worst way to train if you're hiking with another person. So I think it can be done. All these people that want to hike with a boyfriend or girlfriend or friend, you know, they say they poo-poo it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think it gives a lot of security, and it gives just safety. Like, you know, having one time my 2 times now, my filter has failed me, and it's never been frozen. It just gets clogged up or something. So I need to clean it with vinegar, you know, but it's tough. On two heads are better than one. If there's a problem, like, you're going to be able to figure it out better than if you're by yourself and you just panic, you know. So
So now, to go back a little bit, that's the place where I got off trail the year before.
oh, really? That
Yeah, at Bouquet Canyon.
right, where we came back on
Yeah, I had gone up, probably about 4 or 5 miles.
the year before, or the oh no, because you started again back at the beginning in
Yeah,
March. So the year before you had gotten off trail because
yeah,
you were sick.
yeah. What happened was I was hiking up, and I was feeling a little funny, you know, in my head. Not,
Well, you look a little funny.
yeah, always, but I was feeling kind of little, I don't know, discombobulated, I guess. And then all of a sudden, it happened very, very quick. I started getting this really bad double vision, and I had no depth perception at all. I couldn't tell where I was putting my feet. I couldn't, you know,
It's
I saw
scary.
I saw 2 things, and I figured out, well, I'll just put my foot in the middle of those 2 things, you know. But that doesn't really work either.
No,
So
that's dangerous.
yeah, so that's where I got off trail. And I think
And you
it
think
took,
it was because of dehydration, right?
I went to emergency room, and they did all kind of tests, and the doctors didn't know. And actually, what they said that I probably had something similar to a stroke, but not a real stroke. It was just in the
Like a mini stroke? I've heard of mini stroke.
went to my brain. It was like the same, you know, you get a blockage to your brain, that's a stroke. But what I had was a blockage to my eye, one of my eyes.
Oh.
And so that was causing the double vision. And I was gonna go back on as soon as after I got back with the doctor and stuff, if I was cleared, but it wouldn't clear up. It took like 2 months for it to clear up. And so it was too late by then. So when we got on the trail together, I had all of this in the back of my mind, and I
Yeah,
was worried.
you're worried about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I worried that it was going to happen again. I was kind of apprehensive, actually, about going back on. But
Plus, you were responsible for me, a newbie, you know,
yeah, so
although I am an excellent companion.
you are.
I never stop. I mean, like, I will never give up. That's just not
Well,
in me.
that's the way I felt I was too. But when you can't see, that's
Well, see, that's an important lesson. I think that's an important lesson for people. You know, you may think that you will never give up, but sometimes you have to give up. Like, something happens with your health, especially. And I've talked to other people. I talked to this guy named Bob who almost died of heat stroke because he wasn't going to give up. And then he didn't want to push the button either for emergency services. So he literally almost died. Luckily, somebody helped him with cold water and some ice where he happened to be, but he almost died because he didn't want to push the button. So sometimes you got to push the button, save your life. Don't be a dumbass. That's my rule for the trail. Don't be a dumbass.
so. After that incident, I don't know. I never felt the same
You didn't have
hiking.
the same confidence.
I didn't have the confidence. Uh, and then I was starting to have problems, and I think it's related to this with not being able to get enough air.
Yeah.
breathe. In fact, I just went to the doctor to get all kinds of stress tests and stuff like that because it's gotten really bad in the past 3 or 4 months. And so but and also I'm 69, so
Yeah, so you're
spring chicken.
thinking maybe your time on the trail has come to an
Yeah.
end.
You
But
know, I'm
we're gonna run
not
out of time. We got 9 minutes left, just to let you know.
I'm not going to say I'm old, but I don't buy green bananas.
Yes, you do. You do. She makes a mean gumbo. We just made gumbo last night. I put it on TikTok and I think it's on my Facebook if you want the recipe. It is amazing. It's not super hard. There's a couple techniques that are really important to know if you're going to make it. And I think I've looked up gumbo recipes and they didn't tell me about like the special cooking technique that I learned from Chef Ali. Ali is also a chef, by the way. So I think we're gonna wrap things up. We're almost out of time. We get like 40 minutes, and I like to just keep it a half hour. But thanks for joining me, Ellie. I think that was very illuminating, and I think our two recollections are pretty clear. Would you really have let me go by myself
Oh
with?
yeah, I had all the confidence in the world in you.
Oh my God, there's no way. There's no way. I didn't even know how to filter water proper. I mean, I guess you figure that stuff out, but I would not have felt confident. And now I feel confident enough to go by myself. But
Well, I
I've
built the did it.
yeah, I mean, you figure it out or you die, right? So when those are your options,
Yeah.
you can ask other people. It wasn't like we were out there totally alone. So that is a helpful thing. But I do think you should be, I think two things. You need to understand that you can die on the trail. That is not a joke. If you do something stupid, if the weather gets bad, if you make a poor decision as far as like crossing a river that you shouldn't cross or climbing something with snow that you shouldn't climb, you can die. So you have to keep that in mind. So I would say always have a Garmin. I'm working on a Garmin program to provide Garmins for hikers that can't afford them and with the service. So get in touch with me about that. I've got two allotted, and then the two people that have them are going to be trying to fundraising for two more people. So that's one way I'm trying to do that. So I think that's really important to have. And also, but you got to have fun. You can't scare yourself into trying to prepare for everything because you just can't. And it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be an adventure. So keep that in mind also.
So I want to say one more thing. My favorite author is Graham Greene. I don't know if you ever heard of him. And
We've talked about them.
he wrote a novel called The Tailor of Panama, and it's a really great story. And in there, the 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 guy, the story's the narrator, I guess. It was also the I don't remember, but anyway, he had a saying that you have to know your own measure. And that's what I want to say is that you have to know your capabilities, and if you know your capabilities, you know how much you can push it, and you're going to have to push them. You're going to have to ride the edge of the envelope at times. You're going to have to push yourself further than you thought you could do it at times. But if you know your measure, you know what you're capable of. That's how you stay safe. If you
Yeah.
go beyond what you're capable of,
Yep.
then you're in trouble.
Yeah, and that's why I think, training for the trail is important too. These people that get their stuff and just go and never really practice or do, training hikes. I mean, I'm sure some of them are in good enough shape that they make it, but I don't think it's a safe way to go. I don't think it's a good idea. I think you should practice, with your micro spikes, practice with your ice axe, don't be using your equipment for the first time out there. And have
Right,
that equipment. Don't think, okay, I'm just going to try to make it without micro spikes or an ice axe. I mean, that's not safe. That's an accident waiting to happen. So spend the money, spend what you need to, save up the money you need to so you can have a good time on trail. You know,
right.
they say it costs $12,000 to $15,000 now, including equipment. So that's a pretty big chunk of change. Plus you got to give up working for 5 or 6 months while you're on trail. So it's a big commitment. It's a big deal. And when you finish it, you're going to feel awesome. But make sure you finish it safely, right?
Yeah. Well,
All
okay.
right. Thanks for joining me, Allie, and hopefully you'll come on again. I know you got a lot of information. Allie is a very experienced trucker, very triathlete, so she's got a lot of information. I think for us, maybe we can talk about training sometime next time. All right.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.